Hi guys, so this ECU here came in, and if you look on here, where are we? You should see a pin, that one there. Maybe you can see it, but it's lower than all the rest. And what's happened is when they've come to connect it up, you can just see the pin inside there, look, it's bent. So it's bent, that pin. And obviously you can't get in there to replace that pin. You got to remove the whole damn connector. So luckily I had this board. It's not the same, this is actually off a Corsa, but the connector is the same profile. So what I've done is obviously had to use this tool here to suck all of these out, and you're alright until you get to these bad boys, and then they even at 480 they take a lot of the heat out, so I've been having to put my soldering iron on it and the solder remover thing. There we are, it's focusing, just to get it to do it. So obviously I'm just starting to put this one back on there. So what I'll do is I'll show you a bit of that process. So try and get that into place and clean my iron. Obviously we're working our way along here. The last one I got to was this one. Soldering iron keeps turning itself off, so it's going to go flying out the window in a minute. But we just want to make sure these have got plenty of solder on them, because obviously it's got to draw through to the other side of the board. Just touch these last few up here, so there's plenty on them, and it's sucking it right through. That one looks, see how that one drained off then. It's not too bad doing these. I say the worst part's trying to remove them, because if you take these pads off that these soldered to, it's as good as dead. Can do a bit more fresh flux on here, I think. A bit more flux on. It shoots out of this bloody thing. I don't want it to come out too quick. So we just feed the solder in, so it pulls down. I say some of these will be harder than others, because obviously there's a lot of heat sinkage. It does help if the soldering iron actually stays on. This is getting really annoying. What's going off with it? It keeps turning itself off. It's a pain in my arse. Get that heat in, that should draw it down, you see. Like I say, it's important that you let this soak right down, so get plenty, keep the heat on it for a little bit, just so it draws it to the other side. And if we check the other side, actually you're not going to be able to see it. But you can see on them few there, look, you can just see where the solder's just come up the top side of the pins. Can you see it? I'm not sure if you can. Not sure if you can see it. I can see it, but I don't think you can see it through there. Yeah, it has to pull through, because some of these are connected, it's dual sided boards, so obviously there's connections on the other side of these pins also. So just obviously keep your soldering iron clean whilst doing this, because if you don't, it'll draw crap down into it and you'll get a dry joint. You'll always know how far to go, just to the tops of them, just so it just sort of bowls a little bit, like so. It's probably my favourite part of doing these connectors, taking them off. I don't look forward to it at all. I tend to put it off, but when they've got to be done, they've got to be done. I always like to make sure there's a nice little cone on top, just so I know it's flowed right through, and that I don't have a dry joint on the other side, which can happen if you rush them. Well, that's all them pins that side done now, so I'll spin it round. In fact, actually, I'll go through this next row here actually. A bit more flux on here, I think. The flux will help dry it through also. Solid nine's turned off again or something. Another clean. This one's drawing a lot of heat, so it's one of the grounds. I'd say pay particular attention to the ground ones. You'll know which one's a ground because it'll just keep taking and taking. Alright, so now I'll flip the board, do the next side, clean the iron. This is another earth one. Make sure plenty of heat on that because I want it to take on the other side. I think my temp finger's gone off again. Pain in my bloody arse, this thing. It isn't the proper one that I should have where it's one I made, but keep sort of getting issues where it's just resetting it. I would have shown you taking the connector off, but it's pretty straightforward. Not the easiest things. You will get some that will refuse to get the solder out, and the best idea, what I do with them is I'll skip it, because you don't want to keep too much heat on it, because it'll you got a good chance of taking the pads off the board. So what I do is I leave it, and then I work through them. Once I've got all the solder off my other pins, I'll come back to it and I'll spray some flux in, and then spray some flux in and put some fresh solder in it and keep the heat on for a while, just to let it run through. You can see this alright. I was going to use my other camera, which could give you a better zoomed in view, but I think you should be able to see with this. Trying not to be in the way of it all. Easier said than done. You see I'm using a fine gauge solder, really fine, rosin core I think it is. So keep your soldering iron tip, it will get shitty after a bit. It's just the it's basically burnt flux. It's the flux that's burning into the soldering iron. You see it on the board as well. That'll all come off with some brake cleaner shortly. It's a friendly neighbourhood, fucking noisy bastards. Why have an exhaust system when you can take it off and make some fucking racket? Temp's gone again. Sorry, I'm trying not to be in your guys' way. I say just take your time, as steady as you can. You don't want to get solder anywhere else on the board or to lift any components off. If you get too much solder on, you can always do is clean your iron and just come back to it and just hold your soldering iron on it. Fucking temp's gone off again. And when you come back with a clean iron and it's warmed up, you just hold it on a second and you'll see it'll take the rest of the solder, so it'll all drop down then. You can see there's a bloody lot of pins, so it's like I say, it's not I mean, I can do them fairly quick. Obviously we an electronic solder remover. It's obviously the tool to have, because without that you'd be using a manual one. And you're unable to keep the heat on the pin when you come to remove the solder with a regular solder sucker. So I mean, you can do it with one, but it's going to take you a few hours. If you're a patient person, you can do it. Right, just these last few, and I'll clean it up and see what we look like. A bowl there, so I'll come back to it with solder iron. There you go. And I'll lift that last bit off. So you don't want a massive amount on it. You just want a slight little pull, so there's like a slight dome just below the pin, and then you know it's got adequate solder and it should have flowed through to the other side of the board. If it looks a bit flat, I'd say put a little bit more solder on it, because like I say, these do have to connect this side of the board and the opposite side of the board also. Not all of them do, but like I say, if you get the one that needs to be soldered that side and it isn't connected, then you're going to have issues. And that's it. Right, so now we're going to clean it up. Some brake cleaner, some of this stuff. A nice toothbrush. Just to clean it all off. And there you go. I say still a bit of flux and that on there, but other than that it's good to go. Apart from here, I've just noticed right here I've not done that. I missed a pin. Not to worry. Say sometimes it'll hide what you've done with the flux. Once the flux starts going scabby, it'll hide anything. Not to worry. And there we go. One complete unit. You can just about see, look, you see where the solder's come through from the other side. Obviously you can see it's a dual layered board. But yeah, nice new connector. All done. Thanks for watching.